longer checking driver or anything, but their work there is just to collect money for their own pocket. And this is a serious failure from the authorities as well as those who are not paying their salaries. Combined together, they are the one having such activities. And if we continue like that, why do we say we have government? Government is to make sure everything is put in order. And if you don't put things in order and you call yourself government, what kind of government are you? These traffic police must be retrained and resume paying their salaries on time. Then if there are people who still with that mindset collecting money from the people, then you need to take a disciplinary measures on those individuals. Unfortunately, no one doing it. You see them talking rapidly and they are not even doing the right thing. For how long, Ajama, we will continue like this? It is very bad and it is very embarrassing.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. Civil society activist Edmond Yakani says the situation in Upper Nile state requires dialogue, not confrontation. As South Sudan prepares to celebrate Easter, the Bishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese of Juba, Stephen Ameo Cardinal Mula, is urging citizens to actively work for peace and to move beyond political divides and ethnic differences. And two Mundari communities in Terekeka County have agreed to reconcile following a violent clash over grazing land that resulted into 17 deaths and 15 injuries last Friday. This is stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo, and now the news in detail. Civil society activist Edmond Yakani says the situation in Upper Nile State requires dialogue, not confrontation. His appeal came a day after 3 county commissioners in Upper Nile said civilian populations have fled their villages in Makal, Panyikang and Fashoda areas to nearby towns in search of safety following fears of looming White Army attack. This development occurred after the alleged attack by SPLA Ayo on SSPDF and its allied armed groups against in parts of the state. Reacting to the escalation, Yakani said the situation of Upper Nile State requires dialogue among the leaders signatory to the 2018 peace agreement. He directed his appeal to the principals of the peace parties, adding that dialogue is the only option to put an end to the violence. He spoke to iRadio yesterday.
Civil society, I would like to say the situation of Upper Nile State requires dialogue, and that's why we are appealing to our leaders at the level of principles of the parties that are signatory to our access. Dialogue is the only option that we need them to engage on. We are aware that some individuals in South Sudan are not interested for the dialogue among our leaders because the ongoing situation for them define what we call a normal situation. While we as a civil society, activists, religious leaders, women, youth, we don't see the situation as a normal situation. The situation really requires urgency in a dialogue, and therefore, with due respect and honor, we are appealing to His Excellency President that there's a need for MPTC to really hold a dialogue on the fate of our access and this escalation of the violence that are going across the country.
Meanwhile, Yakani is appealing to the government and leadership of the White Army to abstain from military confrontation.
And therefore, we strongly condemn the use of violence as a means for resolving political differences. And that's why we are appealing to the leadership of White Army. Can you abstain from military confrontation? The same message also goes to the leadership of South Sudan People Defense Force. Can we abstain from military confrontation? Because we have seen a declaration of ceasefire by the CTF of South Sudan People's Defense Force. But seems in Malakal, in Upper Nile State, in some towns of Upper Nile State, the declared ceasefire is not working.
As South Sudan prepares to celebrate Easter, the Bishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese of Juba, Stephen Ameo Cardinal Mula, is urging the citizens to actively work for peace and to move beyond political divides and ethnic differences. In a message ahead of the Easter celebrations, Cardinal Muller reflected on the country's long history of hardship and uncertainty, but also expressed hope that Easter serves as a reminder that South Sudan can rise above its challenges. He's speaking from his residence in Juba earlier today. Cardinal Muller emphasized the need for South Sudanese to embrace reconciliation, forgiveness, and to heal the wounds of division that have plagued the nation.
Easter is also intrinsically linked to reconciliation. Through his sacrifice on the cross, Christ bridged the gap between humanity and God, offering forgiveness and the opportunity for a renewed relationship. This profound act of reconciliation serves as a powerful model for us in South Sudan. We are called to extend that same spirit of forgiveness and understanding to one another, in spite of what had happened to us during the few past weeks. The journey towards lasting peace requires us to lay down the burdens of the past, to heal the wounds of division, and to build bridges of trust and mutual respect.
The religious leader also called on the people of South Sudan to work toward building a just and peaceful country for future generations.
Let us be agents of transformation, striving to create a society where every South Sudanese citizen can live in safety, dignity, and security. Let the Prince of Peace guide our steps as we build a future where justice prevails, where the needs of all are met, not because he or she is from my family or from my tribe, and where the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood unite us. This Easter, let us embrace the hope that Christ offers, commit ourselves anew to the path of reconciliation, and tirelessly work towards a just and a lasting peace in South Sudan. May the joy and the promise of the resurrection fill our hearts and homes. Happy Good Friday and happy Easter to all in South Sudan. May God bless you all.
This is iRadio 1 o'clock news. Two Mundari communities in Terekeka County have agreed to reconcile following a violent clash over grazing land that resulted in the 17 deaths and 15 injuries last Friday. Both Kogi and Tijor communities depend on grazing land for their livestock, but clashes ensued over the last weekend. Over 3,000 people were displaced to Terekeka town, where they took shelter at churches and other public places. Following the incident, Central Equatorial State Agustino Jadala visited the affected families and urged the parties involved to reconcile. Speaking to iRadio this morning, William Sisto, the press secretary for Terekeka County Commissioner, said that both communities have decided to let go of their differences and peacefully coexist moving forward.
So they resolved the conflict yesterday, and the two communities have accepted to forgive each other and also to go back to their homes. So this is what has happened now. There is a dialogue already, and there is a peace already in Terekeka County. You know, the dispute was all about a grazing land. It was a land dispute for grazing animals. And that land, so it's now going to be under the control of the government.
Sister added that the government has intervened, taking control of the land to ensure it is properly managed to prevent future conflicts.
With this incident, so the government has decided to do deployment there, and then to that particular land where the tension arises, and then it will be now under the control of the government. And it was stated yesterday by the two communities, the chiefs and the community, to sit down and make sure that so there is nothing again that will happen.
According to Sister, the security situation is now relatively calm. Police in northern Bahr El Ghazali state say a recent crackdown on illegal drug use has led to the confiscation of more than 70 cartons of substances commonly known as ice and tramadol. According to the police, 35 cartons of the drugs were seized from 5 pharmacies in Awil town in February. An additional 25 cartons were confiscated from kiosks, while 15 cartons were found with tea sellers allegedly involved in the illegal trade. The public relations officer of the Northern Bahr El Ghazal Police, Captain Guad, said 44 suspects were arrested between February and April. Captain Guad stated that the suspects were accused of illegally selling harmful drugs, with 43 cases prosecuted. He added that several individuals are currently serving jail terms. Some were released and only one case remains pending. Captain Guad emphasized that the crackdown is part of ongoing efforts to combat the spread of illegal and harmful drugs, particularly among young people in the area. He spoke to iRadio yesterday.
نحن لقينا إنه في المواطنين أو شباب المراهقين السن بتعاطوا المخدر يسمى بهايز وكمان برضو سوء استعمال بتاع ترامادول وبالتعاون مع public prosecutor أننا قدرنا نلموا أكتر كميات من الكراتين في 5 صيدليات. ال5 صيدليات دي طبعا ببيعوا الترامادول ده للعيال صغار بدون روشتة. فترامادول طبعا دواء معروف عالميا ومقبول عالميا، لكن يمكن يستخدم بواسطة الروشتة، لكن لو ما في الروشتة فعيال دي لقوا صخرة دي عشان يقدر.
Tramadol is a prescription painkiller used to treat moderate to severe pain. While it is legal when prescribed by a doctor, it can be dangerous and addictive if misused. Meanwhile, methylphenidate, also called ice, is an illegal and highly addictive stimulant. It causes intense energy, alertness, and sometimes aggression. Long use can lead to serious mental health issues, organ damage, and addiction. In South Sudan and other countries, it is often misused as a recreational drug, especially among young people. The Minister of Animal Resources in Central Equatorial State has ordered the immediate suspension of operations at slaughterhouses in Rajaf Payam due to serious concerns over sanitation and public health. The announcement was made during an inspection visit to Rajaf, where Minister Alex Lotiu earlier found unhygienic conditions at the facilities. The minister reaffirmed that lives and health of people are more important than the financial benefit obtained from this facility. Minister Elia clarified that this is not a permanent closure, but a temporary suspension until the hygiene-related issues are resolved. The move is to protect public health and ensure food safety for citizens in Juba and across Central Equatorial State. He called for a meeting with the slaughterhouse officials, butchers, the city council, and law enforcement on Friday morning to discuss the future of sanitation in the slaughterhouses. He spoke to the state TV SSBC yesterday and called on the stakeholders to meet in his office.
أنا بيعلنوا لسه لقناة ده يجيب فوري الوقت الفوري the immediate suspension of this slaughterhouse until we address the issue with sanitation ده، لأنه حياة بتاع بشر أكبر من الريسورسز علينا بنلقى من الأبقار ده. إحنا ما قلنا إنه business بتاع slaughterhouse must stop، لكن we are suspending the slaughterhouse facilities ده because of the issue of the sanitation. أنا بيطالب الرؤساء بتاع سلكانة والرؤساء بتاع جزارين وكل الناس بتاع city council بتاع public order يوم الجمعة الصباح هم يكون في مكتب بتاعي عشان إحنا نعكس مستقبل بتاع sanitation في المحل ده عشان إحنا نقدر ننقذ مواطنين بتاعنا الموجودين في جوبا وفي ولاية كله. We are calling upon the government to throw their decisive weight behind the issue of slaughterhouse in Juba.
On his part, the director of the slaughterhouses in Bilinyang, Paulo Paul, suggested for their relocation far from people, or else government should provide vehicles to the slaughterhouses.
Kalam besi dana der na wuri kade ya ilena mela kweza mabu kumpogu joda lo madisini au kweza ya mulena approval ikulu le salakanat una ral fi jambu nas yمكن abin fi meldani albayit fiya udama albesidi fine de abi mesaduna barabat ashari yangulena wasaga de termiya bata salakana le ayi zol.
This is iRadio News, and now to the international scene. Here is Madrama James.
Thanks, my colleague Lasuba Memo. Let's have a look at the stories making headlines around the globe. Hamas has rejected Israel's latest ceasefire offer, saying it is prepared to immediately negotiate a deal that would see the release of all remaining hostages in return for an end to the war and the release of Palestinian prisoners. In a video statement, Hamas chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya said he will not accept partial deals that save Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's political agenda. 15 hostages remain in captivity and 24 are thought to be alive. Israel's latest offer involved a 45-day ceasefire in return for the release of 10 hostages. Elsewhere, a British couple were among the 4 people killed in a cable car crash near Naples. Italian police have confirmed the mountain cable car had been plugged to the ground after one of the cables supporting it snapped on Thursday, according to reports. The UK Foreign Office said it was in touch with the local authorities but has not confirmed the identity of the victims. Prosecutors have launched an investigation as officials say the victims were 3 passengers and the driver of the cable car. Finally, the US will abandon trying to broker a Russia-Israel peace deal within days unless there are clear signs a truce can be reached, the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has warned. Rubio said the US wanted to help end the war but was willing to move on if there were no immediate signs of progress. We are not going to continue with this endeavor for weeks and months on end. Rubio added that the US had other priorities to focus on. The comments come just hours after Ukraine took the first step towards signing mineral deal with Washington that intends to set up an investment funds for Ukrainians' reconstruction. Those are some of the stories making headlines around the globe, and back to you, my colleague Lasuba Memo.
Thank you, Madrama James. This is our radio news. Now to end this bulletin, here's a recap of the headlines. Civil society activist Edmond Yakani says the situation in Upper Nile requires dialogue, not confrontation. As South Sudan prepares to celebrate Easter, the Bishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese of Juba, Stephen Ameo Cardinal Mula, is urging citizens to actively work for peace and to move beyond political divides and ethnic differences. And 2 Mundari communities in Terekeka, Kogi and Tijor have agreed to reconcile following a violent clash over grazing land that resulted in 17 deaths and 15 injuries last Friday. That's the end of iRadio News. If there is a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message at +211 925 287 870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30. I am Lasuba Memo. Thank you for listening.